Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Center Court, our admissions festival for specialty master's degrees in business. I'm John Byrne with Poets and Quants. And today we're going to talk about Master's of Science degrees in accounting and finance, specifically at UMass's Isenberg School of Management in Amherst, Massachusetts. We have with us two terrific representatives of those programs, Jeannie Bagden, the director of the MS in Accounting and Master of Finance degree programs. And we're privileged also to have Jeffrey Clark, a lecturer in real estate finance. Welcome.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here.
And it's great to have you. So let's just start with the basics of each program, what students can expect, how long does it generally take to complete, what kind of flexibility is there in the choice of courses, particularly on the elective side, of course, because the core is all mandatory. Jeannie, you want to go first and talk about the accounting program?
Sure. The accounting program, we have been awarding degrees since 2005, but only around since 2015 were we able to allow students to take the program 100% online. Since we've been around for a while, we've been able to refine our program based on student feedback, industry trends, and experience. And so some of the more recent changes that we've made to the program, we've incorporated more data analytics into our core curriculum based on industry needs. We created 3 focus areas, so students who want to specialize can choose from forensic accounting, data analytics, or taxation. And those are optional. Focus areas are optional. We also created, which I think is pretty unique, and I think we did it at a time when there weren't many schools doing this, but we created tracks in our program. So we have a professional track, which is for students that come to us with an undergrad degree in accounting. And then we have a transitions track in it. The name kind of tells what it is, but it's for people who want to transition into a career in accounting, but come from some other major. So we want students to expect a high level of support. We want them to feel that from our advisors and our instructors. And when a new student comes in, we have what we call welcome sessions that are offered several times each term, where the advisors will talk about important information about the program and give tips for success in the program. So how long does it take to complete? It's really up to the student, honestly. We're very flexible. Our professional track students typically go through the program in 2 terms, 2 semesters. So they are younger, they're coming right out of undergrad, and they want to get out there and start their job. On the transitions track, we find they take a bit longer. Part of that is due to additional courses they need to take as part of the program, which we consider foundation courses.
Right.
But it's also really because this group tends to be older and they have a lot more outside obligations, family and full-time jobs. So that's that question. I'm forgetting. So there was another part. Oh, about the programming, course programming.
Yeah, and the flexibility among electives.
Okay, so our program is asynchronous. We do have some classes that have optional synchronous sessions, so that students who want to interact with their classmates and their faculty can do that. We have 6 core classes in the main MS accounting program curriculum and 4 electives. So that's where there's some flexibility. But we do find that the majority of students use 3 of those 4 electives to pursue a focus. And one other thing, when it comes to that close relationship I mentioned earlier with your advisors, it's really important because if a student comes to us on our transitions track and they're from a non-business background, their history or something like that, our advisors want to know if they're planning to pursue the CPA license and things like that. And they will recommend some of our other courses like business law and corporate finance to help them in that area.
Right.
Did that answer all the questions?
I think, Jenny, I think it does, and does so well. And I will say, one of the interesting takeaways for me is how many options, how much flexibility is built into this, how many different on-ramps you have. given the needs of the incoming student and then the interests of the student as they come out. So you can almost shape this program exactly to your level of passion or interest in a given field, and what you expect to do with the degree career-wise, which is really amazing. It's a lot of innovation built into the program.
Thank
Now,
you.
Jeff, what's your take on the finance masters?
Sure. Thanks, John. Our Master of Finance program is actually the world's first in alternative investments in real estate. It is a fairly young program. It's now in its 4th year. And of course, it's run through the finance department, which is the number 10 finance curriculum in the United States per US News World Report. And the program that we've developed is really geared toward that fast growing, complex asset management industry. And the idea is to train the student to be able to grow wealth, manage risk, and really try to distinguish themselves to employers with this training and the degree that they get. And it's geared toward students who have some quantitative background in subjects such as calculus, statistics, and accordingly, it is a STEM certified program, the STEM OPT. So it does give students, international students, an extended duration to be able to be in the United States, as well as to receive paid internships that we try very hard to partner with them to get those internships. So it is a 1-year program that is done in person on campus here in Amherst. Takes the full year to do it. It's 10 courses, a total of 30 credits. And if you are an undergrad at UMass Amherst, we do have an accelerated program called a 4+1, and you can, of course, complete your entire undergrad and master's in a little less than 5 years if you want to go through that.
That's an important. Sorry, I was going to say that's an important point that I missed, is what Jeff just said, that we also on the accounting side have the accelerated masters, and it's been really tremendous for our students, and parents seem to really like that their students can complete a master's and a bachelor's within that 5-year frame.
That's great. And Jeff, for those who don't know what an alternative investment is, can you explain?
Sure. So when we talk about alternative investments compared to, say, typical world of investing, I can tell you a little bit about our curriculum and what goes into that and what you might get as a job coming out of it. So starting broadly, our program gives you some flexibility when we say, okay, what's alternative investments? So we have a alternative investments track and then a specialization in real estate that a student might select. So that's really that first cut is, well, real estate is one of the world of alternative investments. And in addition to that, when we talk about, well, what does that mean for careers? It means jobs in hedge funds, pension funds, money management, private equity, venture capital, and placement within the private world, but also in the regulatory world, agencies that monitor and regulate this industry, which is a very complex industry, requires deep specialization. And this allows you to get jobs as, say, an analyst or as an investment advisor, risk officer, compliance officer, trader, portfolio manager. So it's a very specialized degree, but we provide some very broad training as part of that. So we talk about being alternative investment specialists. The faculty that we have, for example, there are 2 on our faculty who actually published the textbook that the students will use. And it's not just a traditional academic textbook. This is actually as part of the Journal of Alternative Investments, which is where our faculty have developed and actually our editors, a couple of them, on this journal. So you're looking at world-renowned faculty on the research side and practitioners such as myself, a combination that's bringing this training that is that strong combination of the research, the skills, the depth, but also the hands-on practical part of this coursework. We do spend a lot of time making sure the students have those skills in real world up-to-date cases on these alternative investments, Bloomberg terminals, real estate cases, and true practical applications, so that when they're done, their specialization is very deep, very broad.
Yeah, and they can immediately go and contribute to whatever employer hires them. I will also say, for those who may not know, and if you're interested in finance, you should know this, but perhaps you would be more of a non-traditional student going into finance. You know, hedge funds, private equity, and venture capital are among the most lucrative fields in the financial sector today. So to have a program that opens the doors to those particular fields is a big deal. Now, what would you say?
It is, and I would say, you know, in addition to that training, just like you described, and the lucrative nature of the job placement, it is technical.
Yes.
So data science, risk management, analytics, Python, but we also do a fair amount around sustainable finance, ESG issues that are very current, and we keep this curriculum very, very current, very today. So when the students come out, they can speak the language of what their employers need day one.
And we should mention that this is exclusively an on-campus residential program, right?
That's correct. We do this over 1 year, the 10 courses, the 30 credits in person. That's correct.
Great. What would you say, Jeff, is the key differentiator for your program? Is it turning all of this research that's done by the faculty and this kind of difficult field, complicated field, into practical terms, or what?
Well, that's a good way to say it, John. I mean, you summed it up well. It is a complex world, and when you're done at the end of this, you are the specialist. You are the expert in alternative investments or real estate or a combination. And how we differentiate ourselves, it's a small program on purpose by design. So the classes are small. We're putting our top faculty on this program. And again, that top faculty is a combination of research and practitioners, which you don't always get in some programs. We bring in corporate partners and others who will teach a module, support and mentor students, help them with job placement, internships. We do, as part of the coaching that we do, we put together with our career services program, what we call a career and professional development program that starts right from the beginning, a boot camp and program kickoff. So our program is not just academic, it's academic with career outcomes that are going on concurrently. It's not an afterthought. It's fully integrated into the student's study, is the pathway to that employment. And then even beyond that, one other differentiator is some of the professional designations that come out of this training. So the Isenberg faculty, the finance faculty, were the initiators of a professional designation called CAIA, C-A-I-A, which is the Chartered Alternative Investment Analyst. And this is a very strong, very specialized certification in the industry that you can take. Of course, anyone can do it if they've got the background, but that background is actually trained here as part of this program. So if you go through our Masters of Finance, you will be able to sit for your CAIA exam. You're getting this strong training. So the differentiator is you come out with, if you would like to test for it, that professional degree, that career development plan, and of course, as you described it, the practical skills.
Right. And Jeannie, what would you say is a differentiator for your MS in accounting?
I think key for accounting is the dual AACSB accreditation that we hold, so the Association for Advancement of Collegiate Schools of Business. Our accounting department holds separate accreditation with AACSB, and there's only 1 to 2% of business schools worldwide that have that designation. So something we're very proud of, and students can really feel confident that the education that they're getting is of high quality and is meeting high standards that are set for accounting programs. Because of that, I can touch on that. Some of the state boards of accounting, let's talk about Massachusetts, because that's where we are, and that's where the majority of our students actually go.
Mhm.
If you get your Master of Science in Accounting degree from Isenberg, once you go for your CPA license, they're not going to go through your transcript and check line by line whether you've had this class, this class. They're going to just say, check, they went to Isenberg, they're all set.
Right.
So, there are benefits to that for sure. So I think that's a key for us.
Yeah, that's really good. Now, talk a little bit about your latest incoming class. I know you have 360 enrolled students in your MS in accounting. Give us a little sense of what's their average age, what's the gender split? Do you have many international students? Just a basic profile.
Sure. I will say that the last couple of years have been unusual due to the pandemic. We saw a lot of people switching careers and reflecting on what they want to do. And so many of them, I think, thought accounting is very safe and secure. You don't usually lay off your accountants. Everybody needs an accountant. So we did see a large increase in students applying for the program, and I think mostly on our transition side. So I think that really speaks to that switch in careers.
Yeah.
But I would say that right now, our program is evenly split. It's about 50-50. It's actually a little bit more female, probably 51% or so. So yeah, we have a nice split. We don't have STEM designation like the finance program does. So we actually don't have a lot of international students in the program, but I can tell you that we have submitted a proposal to try to get STEM designation. Now that's probably, I don't know how long down the road, but it's something that's on our radar. Their age difference is really interesting. Our professional students are typically 22. They range in that 22 to 24. Not that we don't have older students, because we do, but the majority of them, the average is about 23 at that, somewhere in that point.
Right.
On the transition side, however, it's about 30. So the majority of those students are older.
Yeah.
And they come from varied backgrounds, really varied backgrounds. We do get some with business majors other than accounting, but we get a lot of math majors, chemistry, biology, history. So a lot of different majors.
Right. And you mentioned how the pandemic may have affected some of this. I wonder if there are other events in the last few years that have impacted the program or those who apply to it in terms of their interests.
Well, I do know that there's a shortage right now of CPA. So, firms are really looking for people to fill positions. There's a lot of openings right now. I know that the AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, said that the pipeline has not been great over the past few years. There is a lot to getting your CPA. There's no doubt. You need the extra 30 credits of school. You need to take that very difficult exam, and you need some work experience. So there's a lot to it, but I think people are seeing that accounting is a great career. Financially, you do very well. You can move into so many different areas. Jeff was talking about, some of the venture capitalists and such. And when I look on LinkedIn and I see some of my former grads, a lot of them are doing that. They worked for big four firms and then they moved off, and a lot of them are either in banking now or venture capital, or there's just so many things that you can do. And I think that people are aware of that now.
Yeah, exactly. And as you point out, there really is a talent shortage. PwC is on our site advertising for people. So we know that that's it's a job in great demand. So I think
It is.
for many people who, particularly these transitioners who may have found that their previous careers were a little more vulnerable to recessionary impacts, accounting is pretty much here, will always be here. And while AI may take over some of the drudgery of the job, There's a
Yes.
lot less, lot more left that makes actually the job more dynamic and interesting for those in that field.
That's so true, John. And I'm really glad that you said that because, students coming out today can expect to do things that they didn't do until they were more mid-manager level
Yeah,
because of AI. A lot of the things that they used to do, the shuffling papers and, the basics,
sure.
those those are things they're not doing so much anymore. And so we're looking more at, students and their soft skills and their management skills, things like that. But you're right on with that.
Yeah. So the class profile for the MS in finance, obviously it's a smaller, much more intimate group.
Yes.
You bring in roughly 20 a year. Give us a sense for who these folks are.
Sure. So, we have a good mix of international and domestic students. And again, that STEM designation is
Yep.
critical to that.
Makes a difference.
And we're looking at similar Jeannie's demographic in terms of either age or gender, similar, but we're looking at students that typically have a quantitative background or at least a quantitative interest, whether it's math or data or analytics that come out of that. And some work experience is always desirable. And I know, John, you had said, well, what's driving them to this program and what's going on in the economy specific to our world here in the finance side. We're sitting in today kind of an interesting market, right? There's a lot of turmoil in the equities markets, inflationary pressures, of course, interest rates rising to combat that inflation. And that makes for a very interesting investment horizon. And if this is something appealing to you to say, well, how do I get that expertise to be a little bit better, more knowledgeable, have that practical skill to navigate this situation? This is the attraction of this program. It really gives you those skills to try to make money, whether the market's going up or down, inflation's going up or down. And that's key here.
Yes. And you mentioned earlier, Jeff, that there is an emphasis to some degree on sustainability and ESG. And I'm imagining that is a recent phenomena largely due to interest by students, because the students are very much interested in those topics these days.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, they are qualitatively, but also quantitatively, which again, that balance is part of our program. And, qualitatively, we all, have an attraction to sustainability, ESG. But then when you're in a corporate environment or you're an investment advisor, well, how do you measure that? How do you measure if it's effective or cost effective or we're achieving our goals? And then how do we look forward and then make decisions whether that's company's a good investment?
Right.
Based on their commitment to ESG. So that's exactly, it's a student driven, but also the world and the corporations are moving toward that as well.
Now, there's a mention of this before, but I wonder if we can get a little bit more specific about, let's say, the careers curriculum. How do you support the students and kind of funnel them into their careers in accounting and finance? Do you have one-on-one coaching? What kind of career experts do you have? Is there mentoring, access to job boards, all of the above?
All of the above.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad that you asked us a question about our career resources because they're really fantastic. And this applies to both programs really, but we can't tell you what satisfaction we get when a student comes back and tells us, usually it's they're going to their advisor, but telling them about the multiple offers they got and that they landed their dream job. And they usually end those statements with, I did everything Kim told me to do. And Kim is the dedicated career coach for both of these programs, both the MF and the MSA. So, we know students are here ultimately because they want a good job. And we realize the importance of that. And so for us, it's really important that we get students started with career resources from day one. And the way that we do that is we start each term with what we would call a career kickoff or career boot camp. It may be a little different based on the program. For the MF program, it's a full day on campus. We have different people come in. Jeff comes in. Somebody on the AI side comes in and talks about different positions. But we also then lay out a plan. So the career coach has a kind of a 1-year plan and says, here's where you should be based on when you want to recruit. So they can plan in, even our transition students who might be taking more than the year can kind of say, okay, I'm going to recruit this fall, so I need to be doing these things up to that. And then, you know, our career coaches, the Office of Career Success here at Isenberg, they offer workshops, webinars on all different topics related to career, LinkedIn, how to be, you know, do behavioral interviews, all those types of things. We have career fairs and meet the firms types of events. We have panels where we get alumni on to talk about what they do in their jobs. You know, what is it like? And we have a couple of resources that students have access to. One is iConnect, which is kind of like our virtual career center. Students can go on there at any time and pull up information on industries. They can get a resource guide on how to write a good resume or cover letter. It's really amazing what we have. But I will tell you the number one thing is that they have the dedicated career coach. That is huge.
Yeah, that's really great. And I imagine there are opportunities for internships as well, right?
There are, yes. We actually very much encourage and support students doing internships. You know, that's the best way to find out what it's like when you're out there. And we actually use the Handshake platform, which I think a lot of universities do, but that connects students with employers who are looking for either interns or full-time employment.
And I would add to what Jeannie's saying, John, on the internship side for the master's finance, because our program is 1 year, people often ask, well, how do I get an internship? Because there's no summer break. So this spring, we're going to be offering some virtual internships that can be done during the school semester, during the academic year, that are working with some top employers who are doing this, you know, because they're alums and they want to help, but also because they're trying to recruit. So they're getting good value out of the students, but it's a way to test the students as part of a traditional internship, just done in a virtual environment. So we do find space within our 1-year program to provide those internships.
And with more work today, going remote than ever before, a remote internship makes total sense as well.
Yeah.
You know, it really does. I will say this, I want to underline what you both said about careers and the devotion to the student in landing those jobs. You know, I say this all the time, but I need to say it because it's a very important distinction. What that business schools really bring to the table and why business education has become so popular. Any good business school understands that, yes, they have to impart skills to their students and give them a great, really transformative experience in your business programs. But the big difference between every other college or department on a university campus in business is that a business school understands that a job isn't complete when the student marches across the stage and picks up their diploma. It's complete when they actually get a job with the support of career management, faculty, staff, and their classmates all rooting for them to land that job and make a great start. And that's a big, big difference for anyone out there who's thinking about graduate education. If you want to know why you want to undergo a master's in business, any business field, there's your answer.
Right.
Now, Jeff, what do you think employers most appreciate about the graduates from your program?
So I would say it's somewhat specialized based on where they're placed. So for instance, in the alternative investments specialization or track, it's the detail that the students are getting. It's the depth of the training. It's the practical applications, and then the judgment because a lot of what we're doing is case study based, again, real world, with industry practitioners supporting this. So the students are coming out with not just theoretical case study training, but actually looking at real world problems and sometimes offering up solutions that are current or in use within companies today. And then when we look at, say, the real estate side, I think what they're looking there and saying, you know, I appreciate this in a student is the real estate side of our program. Real estate as an industry, it's broad and deep, you know, in terms of both investment, but also from the user point of view, an occupier. You know, large companies have giant real estate portfolios, not just for investment, but just to operate office space, distribution, warehouse. And if you bring somebody who's gone through this program into a world like that, you would say, well, what's the investment angle? What you're bringing in is someone who's specialized, who can help you advise on own, lease, very interesting financial techniques to stack equity and debt onto your real estate acquisition as a user. So you can come in as an occupier or an investor or an analyst. So we give that very broad training, but deep specialization along the way. And I think that's a good differentiator with that practical skill.
Right. Jeannie, what do you think employers most appreciate about graduates of your program in accounting?
Well, we hear from employers all the time how much they love our students. I think, you know, they come out with very solid technical skills, and they're very self-motivated, and they're great critical thinkers. So, I mean, our students here consistently in the accounting department tend to overload on credits. They're part of clubs. They do jobs. They're just, you know, it's amazing what they can handle. And then many of them are studying for the CPA exam at the same time. So, you know, they see that they're, like I said, they're motivated. They can handle a lot. They're self-starters. And I think that's a really big thing that employers like about our students.
Yeah, and it's worth noting for people who may not yet know this, but years ago, employers were much more willing to hire people and put them in rotation programs where basically for 6 months to a year, they just learned what to do in a company. Yeah. Employers, most of them do no longer have that luxury. And so they want to hire people who really can contribute very early on after they join the company with very little training and very little, frankly, in many cases, supervision. So, you know, in both these cases, a master's in accounting and master's in finance, you're preparing students to make a contribution at their employers from day one. And I think that really resonates with companies, because there's just, you know, they're much more leaner. There are fewer layers of management and fewer places where young people get the opportunity to get trained in companies anymore. So this is really one of the reasons why specialty master's degrees have become so successful and popular.
So true.
Jeannie, what's the best way for prospects to get in touch with you directly?
If they go to our website, isenberg.umass.edu, and they select programs, graduate programs, on any graduate program they select, there'll be a button or a call, connect with us is what it says. And that connect with us leads to our graduate recruitment specialists. And there's so many ways that you can meet with them. And we have info sessions regularly, but you can also always just give us a call at 413-545-5608 or email us at grad@isenberg.umass.edu. We'd love to hear from students.
And if you're really interested in real estate, I would imagine that Jeff is the kind of guy who you actually email or call and have really a thoughtful conversation about what the opportunities are in that field, why it's an exciting and dynamic field to enter. Am I right, Jeff?
You're absolutely right, John. And the same contact info that Jeannie mentioned, you can connect with me, and I'd be happy to talk with somebody just about careers in life or real estate or investing, and you know, how do we get from here to there together.
Terrific. Hey,
Jeff
Jeannie.
is great.
Yes, it's
Love
clear.
him. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Jeannie and Jeff, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot myself. And for all of you out there interested in either a master's in accounting or a master in finance, these are two great programs at the Isenberg School of Management at the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, beautiful Amherst.
Yes.
I know it for sure because my daughter went to UMass and got both an undergraduate degree and a master's degree, not in business. I wish it was in business, but
Fabulous.
no, she chose another field. Anyway, this is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. You've been watching our Center Court session on specialty master's degrees in business. Thanks for watching.